Year 12. A lot of you are still struggling trying to come up with a topic for your investigation. I've heard from quite a few of you. Heard from Caitlin today. Thank you. Nice to hear from you, Caitlin. But some people are still struggling. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just go through some possibilities, some ideas, and it might just help you refine what you're thinking. I would do a massive mind map full of ideas and thoughts and possibilities and ways you could collect data for different things, and that might just help you find the bit that sparks an interest. Okay, so here are some ideas and some things that you could sort of think about. So first of all, think about which part of the course interests you the most. So accent, gender, power, language change that we're going to do next year, language acquisition you're going to do next year as well, how children learn to speak and write, things to do with power or technology, idiolect, sociolect, radio, media, film, television, any of those sorts of things, politeness, social groups, anything like that. Okay. Do you have a part-time job? Maybe think about that. Do you work somewhere? Oh, that's a bit odd at the moment, isn't it? So maybe that doesn't work so much, but you might be able to think about a place where you've worked and how the occupational language is different there, or how the routines or the politeness or the expectations and the allowed contributions are different in that context. Could you do investigation with your family? Okay, spending a lot of time with your family at the moment. So things like brothers, sisters, grandparents. I once did, when I was doing my A-level, a questionnaire about how language had changed for youth, and I remember my mum telling me that the way they said goodbye in the, I don't know, it must have been the 60s, was fade away. So anyway, I found that interesting and that stayed with me. So you've got a lot of people around you at the moment, so could you use them to gather some data? Do you have any recordings of yourself as a child? Have you got you on video, on film? Have you got you talking? Have you got you with your family talking? Could you look at those sort of interactions? Have you got a diary? Could you look at language in your diary without giving away all the dirty secrets? Did you write stories when you were little? Have you got some of your exercise books? Any of those sorts of things. That's all data. Might be quite intriguing. You've got quite a lot of time now. Your family might help you go and rummage in a loft somewhere and find something. That'd be good. Education, how we're taught to write, how we're taught to read. Has that changed over time? Have you got exercise books of when you're at primary school, those sorts of things? Do your parents have their exercise? Are there reports written about you and about your parents, the school reports, those sorts of things? Do you know anyone living in a different part of the world or a different part of the country, and could you gather some data on different sorts of English, the way standard English varies across the country, across the world? What about slang? What about taboo? Are there words that really are not allowed in your house? Really not allowed? Or they're allowed in certain contexts or with certain different meanings behind them or sarcasm behind them? What makes language offensive to some and not to others? Because others' households will be really different. What does offensive language actually do? Because it's only a sound. A word is only a sound. So how can it be so terrible? The idea of sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never harm me really isn't true. We know that words stick, and it is a sound, and it's gone within seconds. So what is it about words that can be so hard-hitting? Maybe your social group. You can have a think about your social group. Have you got a friendship group language? Are there things that you say that I would have a clue what you're talking about? All this language on Snapchat and TikTok-y kind of things, and I don't know, Instagram. I don't understand half of it. So actually that's quite interesting. That's an interesting way to look at language and see how that's formed, how it's different, how many people do decode it and understand it. Media, newspapers, magazines, you might have those in your house. Sports magazines, women's magazines, men's magazines, health magazines, any sorts of magazines, food magazines. Have a look at that. Maybe technology and does the technology allow you to say things that you wouldn't say face to face to somebody? Is there kind of a distance thing that technology allows us then to say things we wouldn't normally? So you could look at Facebook posts, you could look at I don't know, an email, if that's different. Swearing. Does swearing ease pain? Like when you hit your finger and you swear, it's kind of like an automatic response. Does that actually help? What is it about swearing when women are giving birth? Why are they suddenly swearing monsters when that's happening? I don't know. So man, swearing and pain's an interesting study. Why is it that even poor children in India can speak English, but we can't even learn French very well or Spanish very well? So what is it about the teaching of English in other languages, or what is it that gives English? We're such a tiny little country. We're tiny England. We're not even Wales and Scotland. We're England. We're tiny. How come the whole of America speaks it? The whole of Australia, the whole of New Zealand, South Africa, all of India. You go there, so many places. English is just the language you use. How come English from our tiny little country became so powerful or spread so widely, so easily? That'd be interesting. Bilingual children, do you know anyone who's bilingual? What does that do to their language? Has that sort of elaborated it? Has that given them more? Don't know. So I've also got some questions, so some possible questions that you could think about. So if I sent the same text message to 4 boys and 4 girls of my own age, would I see a gender difference in the language in their responses? Okay, that's something you could do. Send one same text to lots of people and sort of record all their responses and transcribe that. It's a good way to get some data. Would a girl's language feature more gender stereotypical features in an all-female, an all-male, or a mixed gender group talk? So you might record yourself talking only with girls, record yourself only talking with boys, yourself talking in a mixed group, and how different are you? Okay, if you can set those things up. Maybe online, I don't know. What about the language of rap music? Does it change the behaviour as listeners? Does rap music make people sexist, racist, violent, aggressive, or not? Female problem pages, magazine problem pages, how does that language work? Is it different from male problem pages? That's an interesting one. You might be able to find those online. Something about EastEnders, Corrie, Hollyoaks, any of those kind of things if you're interested in those kind of teleprograms. What about an interviewer, someone who interviews a lot of people, Jonathan Ross and Graham Norton? Do they interview men differently from women? Do they interview different sorts of people differently from other sorts of people? Does their language change depending on who's on their couch, who they're interviewing? Could be interesting. So here's something from AQA. Alright, so they say the aim of this module is to encourage candidates to apply their knowledge of conceptual frameworks to a research project in a chosen aspect of spoken or written English in use. And they say, they always praise us because our students do something they're interested in. Okay, so hopefully that shows you there are so many different things you could possibly do. Okay, so many different things. There's no right or wrong as long as you're looking at the data gathered about language. Okay, I hope that helps. I'll speak soon. All right, bye.